Okay, welcome to part two of building your model rocket. Now part two is about making the fins, and the fins are really important to your rocket. Your fins provide the stability that will keep your rocket going straight and keep it on course. And the better it's on course, the straighter it will fly, the higher it will fly because it's using its thrust most efficiently. So, how do you start with your fins? Well, the first thing I would do is I would research different fin shapes. You have those fin shapes in your PowerPoint, in your slides. The second thing I would do would be to take a piece of grid paper here and experiment with maybe different fin designs, different fin shapes. They don't need to be great, they don't need to be perfect, but you can experiment with different ideas, and it's important to maybe make these fin designs in an actual kind of scale. After you've sort of finalized your fin design on paper, where you can make lots of different mistakes, is I would take your fin design, I would cut it out, and now you have a fin template. After you've got your fin template, you got to decide on a material to use. Now there's lots of different materials you can use. You can use cardstock, you can use cardboard. I'm going to be using balsa wood, and balsa wood is great because it's incredibly lightweight. It has a really good strength to weight ratio, and it's also really easy to work with. So I'm going to take my fin design. Now one of the things about balsa wood we have to consider is the grain. I do not want to be across the grain because it doesn't have a lot of strength there. I want to make sure that the real strength is with the grain. So I'm going to very carefully draw out or trace out my fin design, my fin template, onto the balsa wood. Now, I don't need to be perfect, but the more attention I pay to detail, the better it will be. Now, some balsa wood you can cut with the scissors. However, the easiest way would be to use like a utility knife or a hobby knife to cut it. You can also use a scroll saw for some of the thicker stuff. And the real way to work with it is to do several passes, several light passes. I'm doing an initial pass, and then I'm going to go several passes over it after that. Please be stingy with the balsa wood. As lightweight as it is not cheap. Okay, so I'm making lots of light passes. Across the grain, it can be tricky. It is splinters very easy. You can bust it up with your fingernails if you're not careful. So now that I've got my fins cut out, I would take some time to shape them. Now you might say, Mr. Briggs, I've already cut them out. I want to put them on my rocket. It's going to be easier to work with them on the ground before you attach them to the rocket. Now one thing you want to consider when you're doing this is what edge am I going to be putting onto the rocket? I want the straightest edge to be on the rocket. In this case, I'm going to be using this edge of all my fins to attach it on the rocket. Now, how many fins to use? You can use as many fins as you want. However, 3 is usually the minimum. 2 does not give you the stability you need. 3 gives you a lot more stability. And like once you start getting like more than that, more than 4 or 5, and you start getting kind of weird in how they're assembled, you can do it too much, and then you start going in from stability into drag. Anyway, I've got my 3 fins. Now you'll notice I'm going to line them up, stack them like a deck of cards, and they are not perfect. So I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper, and I'm just going to work them over this piece of sandpaper. And what I'm trying to do now is while I'm holding them together, I'm going to attempt to trim them up and sand them down and get them as close as I can to being identical. I want them as close as I can to identical so that they are going to have the same weight and the same properties when the wind goes over, when the air passes over them. Now I did a very, very brief overview of it. Another thing you could do, if you wanted to, is try to sand the edges of your rocket fins. Try to give yourself like a sharper edge so the air goes over them a lot better. Just kind of clean them up. Again, you want to be very, very delicate when working with balsa wood. I expect some people to break them now and then, but please don't just tear it apart for no good reason. Now I've got my 3 fins here that I want to use. The last thing I will do is initial each one so that I can attach before I attach them to my rocket. Now when I'm attaching them to my rocket, when I'm ready to attach, here is my recommendation. My recommendation first is to take the edge of something like a door frame. I'm going to use the edge of my laptop and draw some straight lines across the length of your body tube. And position them where you want the fins. Again, planning ahead is vital with this one. Once you've got a good idea where you want your fin to go, take your glue. I'm using wood glue. I recommend wood glue. Some people want to use hot glue because it goes faster. Don't. Now I put on a lot of glue there. I do not want that much glue. I want just a little glue, a little film of glue on the edge of my fin. Once I've got that little bit of film on the edge of my fin, I'm going to wait. Now personally I like to wait a full minute or sing happy birthday to yourself twice. And what I'm giving a chance to do is I'm giving the glue a chance to get really, really tacky. To get kind of like peak set tacky. I want the set time, the time that the glue will seize up and stay put. I want to make it as minimal as possible. So I'm giving it extra time to kind of get ready. Then I'm going to make sure I'm lined up with my tube just right. And I'm going to press the fin onto the tube. And I'm going to apply pressure and time. Pressure and time is what will attach these fins. Okay? I'm putting pressure on it and I'm holding it in place. And again, I might wait a full minute or so before it's on there. So again, a thin film of glue, lots of pressure, and time. And if you do those things, you get your fin attached pretty good. This, however, is still a really, really delicate time for it. I would hold it vertically. I would continue to maybe add some pressure. I would give it about 3 minutes before it's going to be safe to rotate this, that it will support its own weight. If you hold it here, the chances are your fin will flip over. It might fall apart. Take your time putting these fins on. Be patient. It will take you more time if you screw this part up and try to rush it. After you've got all your fins attached, put them on the rocket rack to dry. Okay? And again, label the heck out of everything. And that's how you cut out and build your fins.